are going to discuss about the topic as a part of English methodology. The topic is approaches, methods and teaching of English language. So, coming to first one is the situational approach. So, before a situational approach we have to know about the structural approach. So, in the structural approach we have to think about here we are following the rule like SOS approach. So, in this we are going to create a situation structures, based on that the teacher is going to teach to the students with the perfect manner. So, here the structures are very important one as a part of the situational structural approach. Whereas, coming to the situational approach, so especially to overcome the problems whatever we faced as a part of the structural approach, to overcome those problems from structural approach, the situational approach was introduced. So, in this by introducing this theory, the underlining in this approach was language exists in situation. If someone speaks without anyone listening to him, they will misunderstand. For example, if anybody want to give any message to others or the receiver, here the speaker has to observe whether the listener is in a position to listen whatever the speaker is going to speak. So, without the listener or without the receiver, here the information may not be passed in a proper way. There is a chance for the misunderstanding as well as the communication gap will be there. So, that the message will not be delivered in a proper way. So, it is considered as the communication failure. So, language is used according to needs of the situation we are in. So, here we move from one situation to another every day in our life, and all the situation need for negotiation using the language. So, here you are using the language for especially for creating a situations or sharing to some others, whatever the happenings in our day to day life, these all will be possible only through the communication. So, the language is going to take a crucial role to communicate with others. So, here the situation need for our negotiation using the language. So, especially we are talking about the foreign language, that is English. So, here just it is a simple example. Here we created in a situation. For example, if the English teacher is going to create a situation in the classroom, for example, he want to create a situation like by keeping pen on the table on the bench, then that was a situation, a simple situation created in the classroom. So, here that situation is making the student to speak out. So, immediately the teacher is going to ask what is this. So, here the student response is that is a pen or this is a pen, otherwise it is a pencil or pen, means here the English teacher is going to create in a small situation. And the same time here there are for example, by showing some chairs or by showing some textbooks or looking into the windows and all those, these are the simple situations which were created in the classroom, and these type of activities are making the student to overcome what is the exactly the situation means. In the same time, if you want to create in a situation like at shopping mall, otherwise I mean the zoo park. So, here these all automatically the students will imagine that we are in zoo park, that was the situation. So, here based on the situations the student is going to create or showing interest to learn in the form of activity based. So, here by creating the situations, here we are having different types of situations in the classroom usually. So, for example, if we look into the environment. So, for example, the teacher want to create an environment like here the classroom is in a specific environment which is making the learner as an active participant. So, just we are creating in a classroom as an environment or school premises or outside the classroom. For example, this is one type of situation. For example, the teacher can stand at the entrance of the door, classroom entrance of the door, then the situation will be created where I am standing. So, if immediately the student will say outside the classroom or inside the classroom. So, here this is a simple situation which can be created in the form of activity. So, that the student, every student is going to give response for these type of situations. And one more part we can create a situation like teaching aids. So, here the TLM is very important one as a part of teaching any language or any other pedagogy subjects or the school subjects. So, here the teaching aids, for example, if we had shown any object or if you had shown any chart or if you had shown any chart or model or pictures. So, by looking into that teaching aid, definitely they are going to express what exactly they are feeling. Means here the object or model or the chart whatever had shown by the language teacher, it was in a situation. So, based on the situation the students are going to give response for that. So, this is also one type of situation, and easily we can conduct in the classroom, or definitely we can make all the student as a active participant towards the language learning. And some other situations like we can create like make the student by telling the stories. So, here based on this, by telling the story we can create a situation like role play. Here the one student has to come and stand or can take a role as a one person or one animal, and the same time what are the characters were there in the story, these all will be delivered to the students in a proper way by telling number of stories, anecdotes as well as incidents and the events. So, here we have different types of situations which we can create within the classroom environment. So, here the language teacher's main intention is all the students should be participated actively in the classroom, then only it will considered as the effective classroom learning. So, this is about the situational approach. Coming to next approach is communicative approach. So, here the communicative language teaching, the short form for this is CLT, communicative language teaching. In general, it believes in providing opportunities to the learners to communicate with each other. So, especially the language is meant for communicate with others. So, here the English language is should be make the others or the learners to communicate with each other. So, in this we have to follow certain concepts of competencies and performances. So, in this was especially coined by Himes coined this term in contrast with communicative view of language and Chomsky's theory of competency. Based on this HYMES, Himes coined this term, communicative English term was coined by this person, linguist, that is Himes, HYMES. He coined the term communicative language or the communicative approach. So, this is a point of view like and Chomsky theory of competence. So, here the Chomsky was a famous the linguistic father of language, or he was a famous linguist. He focused on language learning should be as a natural phenomena, like how the children had taken birth in the nature. So, it is a natural phenomena without having any intentional, we can make the child to grow up as per their development or as per their age. So, here the language learning is also a part of the natural phenomena, or it is a natural development. This was the definition or opinion by the Chomsky, and he was the father of language. So, and one more person in the year 1980, and also these two persons were analyzed on the communicative competencies. The name were Kennel and Swain. Kennel and Swain in the year 1980, they analyzed the communicative competencies by identifying major 4 dimensions. So, Kennel and Swain analyzed the communicative competencies. The first communicative word introduced by Himes, HYMES, and analysis done on based on the communicative competencies, which was by Kennel and Swain by identifying 4 dimensions. So, in these 4 dimensions, the first dimension or the competence is talking about grammatical competence. So, in the first one is grammatical competence, second one is socio-linguistic competence, third one discourse competence, and the fourth one is strategic competence. So, first competence is talking about grammatical competence. So, here first of all the English language teacher has to make the student to speak out or express their views in the form of language by taking help of English. So, here in the initial stages the student should not bother about the grammatical part. Once they have the confidence having that I can communicate, then they have to look into the grammatical competence. Once they are perfect with the grammatical structures like parts of speech where I have to use the verb and where I have to use the noun, pronoun, subject, verb, these all we have to follow certain parts of speech and certain structures. So, based on that they are going to get perfection with the grammatical competence. And the next competence is talking about the socio-linguistic competence. So, here we are talking about the socio-linguistic competence. This is also especially going to useful for the communication purpose. Whereas, coming to the discourse competence, these are very important one in our day to day life, especially for the English language teacher. Based on these discourses, we are going to have proper planning of the classroom teaching and how we have to interact with each and every student. The classroom is consisted with the different types of attitudes of the students. So, here the classroom will be categorized into three: the average student, below average student and the above average student. So, here the class teacher or the language teacher has to think about by delivering the class or by explaining the class by looking into three categories of the student. So, here we need proper planning. So, in this planning part or the period plan preparation, we have to follow certain discourse competencies. If the discourses were not fulfilled in a proper way, definitely the class may not be the effective one. Coming to the strategic competence. So, especially why we are teaching to the students or why this communicative competence or why this communicative approach is going to be helpful for the student. So, what is exactly the strategy we have, that should be very clear to the language teacher. So, these are the main 4 dimensions as a part of communicative approach proposed by or analyzed by Kennel and Swain in the year 1980. Coming to the features of communicative approach. So, first of all, the communicative approach has to be facilitate the integration of grammatical competence as well as the socio-linguistic competence. These are based on the dimensions of the communicative approach. And the next feature is talking about the based on respond to the learner's communication needs and interest. If the learner or the listener is not interested towards the respondent, or if the receiver is not having interest towards the sender, here the communication is going to be failed. So, here, so based on the respondent, the learner's communication needs to be created and it should be interested. So, looking into this, we have to follow certain principles while teaching as well as the learning process. So, in this communication, so the activities involved real communication and promote learning. So, here why we are going for the communication? What is the importance of communication? So, the communication, it is an activity which is nothing but you are going to speak to others, it is an activity. So, what exactly it is related? It is involving the real communication and promote learning. So, here the sender is giving any message or giving communication to the receiver, definitely the learner should learn and they should have some knowledge over the concept or the what the subject is exactly. So, here the learning process will be taken place only if the two actions were in a proper way, then the message will be delivered in a proper way. The communication is the first principle. The next principle is talking about the task. So, here the task, language activities that carry out meaningful task and support learning. So, here like we as a language teacher, they have to create some tasks which can be satisfied with the language learning. So, the tasks are making the each and every student as a getting information about that particular area, and whatever the experience they got through the task, that will be clearly explained within the classroom. So, here the tasks are very important one for the effective teaching of language. And coming to next principle is meaning, language that is meaningful and authentic to the learner. So, whatever the language teacher is giving the information to the students, as well as whatever the information they receive from the textbooks or from the speaker. So, here that should be meaningful one. If there is no meaning, if that is not the worth one or if it is not the authentic one, definitely the learning process will not be taken place. Okay. So, here these three are the major principles of the communicative approach. The first one is communication, the second principle is task, and the third one is meaning. If there is no proper communication, it will not be effective one. If the tasks were not given to improve the language skills of the student, here they may not show any interest to learn the language. Whereas, coming to the meaning, whatever the speaker or whatever the subject is delivered by the experts or by the speaker, that should be authentic one. So, these three are the major principles of the communicative approach. So, by looking into this, what type of syllabus should be incorporated to improve the English language skills? So, here it concentrates on prioritizing learners' interest. So, here whatever the syllabus was framed based on the interest of the learners, and the same time syllabus concentration should be based on the age factor of the student as well as the their mental ability as well as in standard of the student is very important one while incorporating the syllabus. So, that syllabus should concentrate on giving prioritizing for the learners interest. If how the learners will get interest towards the language, automatically they have the phobia of English language learning. So, here if the what way we can create an interest by giving more number of activities or by giving more number of practicals or by giving more number of tasks, these all definitely going to create interest towards the language learning. So, here the expert should concentrate on while framing the syllabus giving more importance for the syllabus based on creating interest towards the language learning. The notion and the functional categories like greetings, introducing people, expressing joy, happiness, these all will be in the form of functional category. So, here if you want to greet anyone, if you want to wish anyone, what type of rules and regulations we have to follow and how we have to start our greetings with elders. If you want to receive anyone, what are the procedure or what are the rules and we have to follow to express our views, or how you are going to express your joy, how you are going to express your sadness. These all will be looked after as a part of the functional categories. Just framing of syllabus is the other part, and that should be as a part of implementation, that should be in the form of functional, then only it is going to be useful to the students. The next approach is constructivist approach. So, here especially the constructivistic part was focused majorly by the psychologist Jean Piaget. Jean Piaget was famous psychologist who had focused more on the constructivism or constructivistic part. So, here the constructivistic teaching has been used successfully both with young and the adult learner. So, here as a part of communicative approach or as a part of situational or as a part of a structural approach, the constructivistic approach is giving more importance by giving more number of projects as well as the problem solving activity. So, the constructivism is majorly focused by the psychologist Jean Piaget, and the same time here we can how in what way we can construct the students or in what way the teaching should be effective to the students, especially we are looking into the young learners or as well as the adults. So, here that will be effective by giving more number of project works as well as the problem solving activity. So, if the student was participated in the project work activities, definitely on their own they are going to learn lot of information and they have the zeal to submit the project within the stipulated time. To submit that as a part of the class work or as a part of marks considered or whatever the aspect may be, but every child having intention to submit the project work. So, automatically once they have the interest to learn the project or do the project, definitely they are going to learn at least few parts from doing that work as well as giving some problem solving activities. For example, if the language teacher is teaching grammatical item to the students like giving parts of speech or direct indirect speech or active voice, passive voice, articles, whatever it may be. So, here not only explaining about the principle or the rule or the formula how to introduce and what should be introduced. So, these all the instructions will be given by the language teacher. So, while giving, the language teacher is going to give some examples. So, based on the example the student has to develop some more examples by taking help of the what the teacher had explained. So, these all making the student to participate in the active manner. So, once we want to create a classroom environment with the joyful learning of the English language learning, so that each and every student is going to participate as a part of project work and as a part of the problem solving activity. So, here the language teacher must create an intention in the student participating or doing the projects or by giving more number of problem solving activities. So, by this process the student is going to learn more and more with their own interest. So, while following this constructivistic approach, here we have to follow certain principles. So, the first principle is talking about learners or active participant. So, if the classroom is not active, if the students were not active, if the listeners were not active, automatically this constructivistic approach will not be satisfied. It is not going to give justification. Coming to next principle, learning environment is open. So, here if the teacher is explaining any one concept to the student, definitely that concept should be delivered to the student, as well as environment is open, learning environment is open. If they have any doubt regarding that structure or regarding that content, immediately they can have an opportunity to share or clarify the doubt. So, here the environment is open, then only the learners will be having interest to share their doubts or clarifying their doubts. Next one is class needs to be interactive. So, here as we are following the education system, in previously we used to have only the teacher centered education system. So, in the teacher centered education system, the teacher, whatever the teacher is teaching to students, student has to follow, and here there is no chance to share the views with the teachers. So, whereas coming to the later, we have so many developmental aspects were taken place, so many committees and commissions were focused. Here the classroom is not meant for the teacher centered. Here the classroom should be as a child centered education. So, when the child centered education is going to be become active, means here open environment should be created, all the learners should be in the active participant, and the next one, classroom needs to be interactive. If they have any doubt, if the child want to learn anything, or if the child want to share anything with the teacher or with the same peer group, they can have interaction, so that they are going to express their thoughts, which is nothing but the open to the learners. And the next principle is learner become facilitator. The teacher becomes facilitator. So, in this child centric education system, the teacher is giving only instruction, means here the teacher is going to act as a facilitator. He is going to give some information which is related to the students. So, here based on that the teacher has to create the situations and make the learners as the active participant. So, once the learner is given importance in the classroom as an active participant, then they are in a position to do their project work, as well as they will show interest to do the whatever the problems they have, especially we are talking about the language problems. So, these are the major principles. So, the teacher's role in this constructivistic approach is they should be act as a facilitator. The next approach is collaborative approach. So, in this approach especially it was attempted in the initial stages in California. So, later it was introduced to our Indian education system. So, this collaborative approach is believing that all learning can happen best when it is shared with others. So, here whatever the student want to share, definitely that should be shared with others. So, means here the collaboration is believing that the learner can be do best when it is shared with others. If they have any thought in their mind, whether it may be joyful or whether it may be sad or whether it may be what type of concept it may be, but it should be shared with others. So, that the sharing of the knowledge or sharing of the information collaboratively is making as the effective attempt or effective learning. So, that type of environment should be created in the part of collaborative approach. So, by this collaborative approach, the disciplines were integrating and new disciplines were emerging. So, for example, here we had given in a biotechnology. So, in this biotechnology part, here this is a combination or collaboration with biotechnology. So, here the bio means which is talking about the science like biological sciences or as a part of botany or the zoology, whereas coming to the technology part. So, in this, So, if the child want to learn the subject of biotechnology, it is the collaborative work like science, biology as well as the technology part. So, here the child should learn bioscience part as well as the technology part. So, then only that course is going to become as a successful one. So, here the collaborative work is going to give a lot of effort or lot of information to the students. So, by this approach the disciplines were integrating and new disciplines were emerging. So, biology is the other one aspect, the technology is the other aspect. So, here we are integrating these two, automatically the new discipline were emerge, that is biotechnology. So, by this collaborative teaching, here it is extending the sharing responsibility between teacher and the learner. If there is no collaboration work, if the teacher and the learner is not having proper collaboration or not having proper understanding, definitely the teaching is going to be failed. So, here the collaborative teaching is extending by sharing responsibility between the teacher and the learners. So, the learners can be assigned tasks individually in the form of projects or other assignments. So, here it is nothing but the projects will be given by the teacher, the language teacher, or assignments will be given by the language teacher, and before going to give the projects or assignment to the students, here the teacher has to give complete guidelines or the complete rules and regulation how the project should be presented and how the assignment should be presented. By giving certain rules and regulations or by giving certain guidelines, definitely the learner is going to create or they can complete their task as per the expectations of the language. So, here this is also indicating that if there is no collaboration, if there is no mutual understanding between the learner and the teacher, definitely we can't expect the project or assignment as per the language rules and regulation. So, the collaboration is very important one in this approach. So, by this collaborative teaching also it is extending to the strategies adapted by learner to learn together in pair and group. So, here if they want to go for any project or if they want to present as a group assignments or the group project, that will be possible only through the collaborative teaching. If there is no mutual understanding among their peer group, definitely it is not going to become as a successful. So, automatically there will be a communication gap, there will be a gap among the subject. So, the collaborative teaching is extending to the strategies adopted by learner to learn together in a pairs and the groups. So, the next approach is talking about eclectic approach. So, in this approach the teacher assesses the learner for their strengths and weaknesses as well as makes a list of their needs. So, here especially the language teacher intention is assessing the student in what extent they understood the concept or in what extent they are going to communicate with the teacher or with a peer group or with others, the proper following rules and regulations of the language. So, here the teacher's responsibility is they have to assess the learner for their strengths and weaknesses. So, if the student is having lot of interest to learn the language, definitely that will be the strength of the student. But here the problem is they can't communicate in a proper way in English, that was a weakness. So, here the teacher has to give proper guidelines to overcome this weakness. So, the teacher has to take or teacher has to assess the learners strengths and weaknesses as well as make the list of their needs. So, based on that the teacher has to focus on each and every student in the stipulated time period. So, here we have to look into the strengths and weaknesses. So, by practicing or by knowing the weakness of the student, definitely making these weakness for few days or few months, definitely it is going to be added as a strength. So, that responsibility will be taken by the language teacher. Coming to this one, it is a random mix of strategies, but a well considered choice of the technique. So, here to make this approach as very effective one, here this is a combination of all the strategies and as well as consider the choice of the technique. So, what type of technique you want to follow, definitely you can adapt. So, here there were no certain limitations or certain restrictions are not there in this approach. So, by this approach maximizing learning opportunities and promote learners autonomy. So, by this approach here the students weaknesses or strengths were assessed by the teacher. So, that is making or maximizing learning opportunities and promoting learners autonomy. So, by this we conclude that these are the different approaches. So, and the next part is talking about the method. So, here the method is an evolution of different approaches and has given way to different methods of teaching. So, in this we have to look into different types of methods. So, by this the teaching of language began with some 6000 years ago, especially it was developed by Britishers. So, as per at the time of the Governor General, William Bentinck approached the Lord T.B. Macaulay and Raja Ram Mohan Rai. At the time the Raja Ram Mohan Rai and the Macaulay by taking suggestions or by giving an appeal to introduce English education in India. So, to introduce English in India, William Bentinck approached Lord T.B. Macaulay and Raja Ram Mohan Rai by having an appeal to introduce English education in India. So, William Bentinck constituted a commission under the chairmanship of Sir Charles Woods to draft a proposal for introducing English education in India in 1835. So, when he approached Macaulay as well as Raja Ram Mohan Rai, and later he constituted a commission under the chairmanship of Sir Charles Wood to draft a proposal for introducing English education in India in 1835. Later the report was ready by 1853. Whatever the draft or proposal were introduced for English education in India, the report was ready by the year 1853. So, when the report was ready in the year 1853, at the time the Bentinck was no more. At the time he was Bentinck was no more in the year 1853. So, here we have to follow certain methods to teach the grammar translation method, like direct method or Dr. West method and bilingual method. So, these are the different methods of teachings. Coming to the first one, grammar translation method. So, here this grammar translation method actually it was originally used to teach Greek and Latin, especially this grammar translation method originally used to teach languages like Greek and Latin. From that languages we adapted to our teaching English language. It is a way of learning a language through detailed study of grammar. So, the main intention of grammar translation method is giving complete knowledge or giving detailed study of grammar, means how we have to use the grammar in our day to day life. So, the priority is given to accuracy and completeness of sentences. In general, in the initial stages we are looking the students to speak the language, means here completely we are ignoring the grammatical structure. But as per this grammar translation method, the first priority is given to accuracy and completeness of the sentences. So, the priority is given for the completeness of sentence, that should be accurate, that should be perfect. The clear grammatical items or the based on the grammar translation method rules and regulations or learning the language should be as per the grammatical part, then only that will be the effective communication. Looking into this, the features. So, this grammar translation method elaborative explanation of grammar, it is giving explanation for the grammar and the same time it is elaborating the grammatical structure, complete information will be given, what are the rules and regulations should be followed, these all will be very clear. Next feature is talking about teaching of vocabulary items in the form of word list. So, based on the words list we have to follow the grammatical explanation or grammatical part. Next one, use of the mother tongue. So, in the initial stages to learn the international language or to learn the foreign language, here the student may have some feeling that I may not understand English in a proper way. So, here directly teaching in English language, it may create some difficult to the learners. So, this is had given an exemption that they can teach the grammatical item with the help of mother tongue. So, that the child in the initial stages they will come to know learning English language is an easy, because here the teacher is explaining the grammatical structure by using the or by taking the help of mother tongue. So, automatically they will translate each and every word from mother tongue to English language, because this is in a very initial stage of learning. Next one, translation of the sentences. For example, if we had given any sentence, that sentence they will translate it into English by taking help of mother tongue. That sentence, whatever the language they want. For example, if the teacher had given sentence in English, they can translate the terms to mother tongue or the regional language, so that it is going to become as an effective or the interest towards the language learning. But here the main feature is talking about reading of difficult text, because here the textbook is printed only in English, because it is an English textbook. So, when we followed these all the rules and regulations or grammatical structure, here sometimes the student may feel difficult to read the textbook. So, because here they are not perfect with the English language. So, here this is these are the features which we are talking about the grammar translation method. By this, what are the advantages? Now, we talk about the features of grammar translation method. By following this, what are the advantages? So, coming to advantages part, the learner acquire vocabulary in an easy and effective way. The learner acquire vocabulary in an easy and effective way. Why? Here it is having an opportunity taking help of mother tongue. So, that is why it is they feel that it is an easy and it is an effective way. And next advantage is talking about understanding or interpreting is too easy, because true translation will be taken place here as a part of understanding as well as the interpreting. Whatever they understood, they will try to put it on paper with the help of mother tongue. So, based on that, then they are going to convert that mother tongue into English. So, they feel that it is an interpretation is also very easy. And next, it saves the labor and time of the teacher as teaching and testing. So, why the language teacher does not feel difficult to teach this method means, here the teacher is taking help of mother tongue or the regional language, so that they may not feel difficult to teach. So, here the teacher is going to save the time as well as is not going to struggle a lot to teach the grammar to the student, because all the way it is taking advantage of the mother tongue. And next one, it is focusing on aspects of reading and writing. So, here the main intention of the grammar translation method is reading and writing. So, once they are thorough with the reading, definitely it is going to give confidence, as well as once they have the subject with them, definitely they will try to write it on paper. So, these are the major advantages by the grammar translation method. Coming to next one, even we have features or even we have the advantages by the grammar translation method, there were certain limitations. So, the first limitation is talking about it is emphasizing on the mechanical learning. So, here it is emphasizing on the mechanical learning. Here the child is not learning the language as natural environment. Mechanical environment is created in the classroom by forcefully they are learning the language. So, the mechanical learning is may not effective to learn the language. That was the major limitation. And the next one is talking about not focusing on listening and speaking. So, here it is focusing mainly on reading and writing, but it is giving less importance for the listening and speaking. So, as a part of language skills, we have to concentrate on 4 major basic skills. Those are L, S or W. So, the equal importance will be given to teaching language or learning the language. But coming to the grammar translation method, it is focusing on listening and speaking part. So, the totally reading and writing had given less importance, more importance were given, but not given listening and the speaking. That was a drawback with the or limitation with the grammar translation method. And the next one is talking about teaching about the language, but not teaching the language. So, here the language is teaching about the only the language, but not teaching the language. So, here the main intention is teaching English languages, we have to make the learners or the listeners to learn the language, but here we are taking help of mother tongue, so that the child is going to become habitual to use the terms in mother tongue. So, automatically the teaching about the language, but not teaching the language. So, this is also one of the limitation. And the next one is talking about not having effective role of student. So, here in general the education system should be focused on child centric education, but here in this grammar translation method it is giving only not giving importance for the role of the student, because the teacher is going to give all the information by taking help of mother tongue and translating it into English. So, that whatever the rules were given by the language teacher, that should be followed, but here the student is going to act as only the passive listeners. So, here they are not playing an active role. So, these are the major limitations by following this grammar translation method. So, coming to next method, direct method. So, it is the best way to learn the language. So, in this grammar translation method, here we are taking help of mother tongue, so that the child may not know the seriousness of the language. So, as the mother tongue how they learn, they will feel that English learning is also, because here they are taking or depending majority on the mother tongue. So, that the mother taking help of mother tongue may not making the learner as serious about the learning the language, especially the English language. So, here in this direct method, it is the best way to learn the language. So, this direct method speaks of different association between the forms and meaning in the target language. So, here the target, what is the target language here? The English language is the target language. So, the teacher or the listener has to focus more on the learning English language. So, whatever the speaker or whatever the teacher is going to teach to the student, it should be with the different association between the forms and meanings in the target language, by giving more number of examples in English, or by giving more number of meanings, by giving more number of forms, by introducing more number of structures, so that it is going to make the student to speak or to express it in English. So, this is the direct method. Here it is not giving any opportunity to take the help of mother tongue or the like what we discussed in the grammar translation method. In this direct method, we have to follow certain features. So, the first feature is talking about oral communication is given importance. So, the oral communication is given more importance as a part of this direct method, because here once the child is having confidence and speaking, automatically they will try to focus on the remaining skills of the basic skills of the language. The oral communication is giving a lot of importance in the direct method, whereas coming to the classroom activities are carried out only in the target language. So, here the English classroom is meant to talk or to speak or to explain or share in only with the help of English language. So, whatever the activity was taken place in the classroom, especially the English classroom, that activities are carried out only in the target language. So, the targeted language is here, the English language is the target language. So, whatever they want to express, maximum they are in a position to try to express their views by using or by taking help of English language. So, that the activities which were carried out in the classroom, that will be the more effective to the listener as well as to the making the classroom as very effective, focusing on oral communication. Whereas, coming to direct method, it is focusing on or emphasizing on the correct pronunciation. So, once they have an activity of sharing their views in the form of oral communication, definitely there will be a clarity to the student how exactly I have to pronounce the word. So, the correct pronunciation is going to be taken place in the classroom. So, it is emphasizing on the oral communication, and the next one, the classroom activities are very important one to develop the English language skills, and next point is focusing on the, it is emphasizing on correct pronunciation. So, this is major points which we have to focus on. And the next one, it had given more importance or scope for conversational practices. So, here if how the child is going to get confidence in speaking to others or command over the language, if they have an opportunity to speak with the peer group, definitely they will have command or definitely they will get confidence. So, here the scope should be provided by the English teacher, so that it is making the conversation should be, and as well as the practices should be in English. That opportunity should be provided, which is nothing but the environment or the classroom environment should be very open to the student. The next one, dictation and as well as fill in the blanks and paragraph exercises. These all making have command over the vocabulary or the spellings. So, the dictation part is taking a crucial role to know and what is the spelling of the so and so word, and what is the meaning of that word, and what are the different synonymous words, and what basis we can frame their own sentences. And next, one more exercise we can give is fill in the blanks and paragraph exercise. So, by doing more number of practices in the form of dictation, so in initial stages definitely for first few minutes we have to concentrate on these dictation, so that it is going to create more word power to the student, as well as coming to the fill in the blanks and the paragraph exercises. These all the exercises or practices made the student confidence in the English language or the targeted language. These are the major features. Coming to the advantages. So, by this direct method, teaching and learning makes learner speak and write in English only. So, here the target is on English language, that should be, and the teaching and learning makes the learner speak and write. So, here these speaking and writing are the basic skills of language. In what way it is going to discuss with the student? With the help of only English. Here there is no scope for the mother tongue or any other regional languages. So, this is making the learner to speak in English and speak or write in English only. And the next one is audio visual aids and demonstration make the class interesting. So, here in the schools we have to maintain some language labs. So, based on these language labs, they are coming to know how exactly the word should be pronounced. So, that they are coming to know how the word should be pronounced, even at least they are in a position to try to pronounce in that manner. For example, we can go for the word like environment. In general, we will pronounce like environment. So, once they listen to that audio visual aids which were standardized one, definitely the word will be spelled in a different manner, like environment. The word will be pronounced as environment. So, even while coming to the dictation part, if the teacher had pronounced the spelling as environment, definitely the student are going to get doubt what exactly the spelling. So, if they are coming for the habitual language like environment, definitely they will grasp the words and they will write it on paper. So, here these all the practices which we required to make the usage of the words as very effective. So, this is audio visual aids and demonstration make the class interesting. So, here based on this we can overcome few mistakes how the word exactly should be pronounced. Coming to the limitation, even it is focusing on the target language, here it is followed with some limitation. It gives importance to oral fluency. Already we discussed, it is giving more importance for speaking and writing part. So, here we have to focus on it is giving importance to oral fluency, and also it is laying emphasis on great stress on the teacher. If the teacher is not in a effective teacher, if they do not know the proper spelling of proper pronunciation, definitely it is going to create a stress to the English language teacher. And the next one, all the teachers could not afford to follow this method, because we have the problem with the English language. So, only the trained teachers, those who have command over the English language, they only express the classroom in a proper way to the student or whatever they want to express in the class. That should be the understood by the learner. That extent is possible only with the trained teachers as well as those who have command over the language. So, that is also one of the limitations. So, here it is not possible for all the teachers to offer this method. So, here these are the different methods, few methods we discussed, and now we will conclude this. We discussed about the different approaches as well as different methods. So, as we have done a part of English language, we have to express our views in the form of language, or that views or that content should be delivered in the classroom in a proper way. So, to make our classroom as very effective, we need, as a language teacher, we need proper planning. So, to make our plan as very success, or classroom should be very effective by concentrating on all the different types of individuals in the classroom. So, already the classroom is meant with different attitudes of the individuals by considering average, below average and excellent students in the classroom. We have to look into all the students and we have to deliver the English class in a proper way. So, for that we need proper planning. So, to make our content as very successful one, we have to follow certain methods and approaches. So, in this we have to we have different types of methods like communicative approach, situational approach, structural approach and eclectic approach. These are the different approaches. Whereas, coming to the methods. So, by adopting different types of methods and by adopting different types of approaches, we can make our classroom as very effective. So, here the language teacher is very important one, and they have to command over the subject. Then only the language learning, especially the English language, is going to become very comfortable to the learners. So, here whatever the 45 minutes period was allotted to language teaching, that should be utilized in a proper way by creating more number of activities as well as by giving more number of projects, as well as even when they have the chance to speak out, let them speak out and let them come out with their own views, so that they are feeling comfortable to express or feel classroom as very comfortable for us. So, here the sharing of knowledge is very, very important one, whatever they feel. Okay, thank you.